call to order the meeting of Monday, July the 10th. If you'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If the clerk would please read the roll.
Councilmember Archibald. Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Huron.
Present.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Mojrak.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Mayor Rapp.
Here. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of June 26. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Madam Chair.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Mojrak. Is there any changes to the minutes? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes will stand as submitted. We have one presentation. If the clerk would please read it.
Representatives from the Michigan Department of Transportation will provide an update on the Blue Water Bridge Plaza expansion project.
Go ahead and come forward.
We have two presentations. I'm doing the one on I-94B business loop. We're doing a project there. Do you have a PowerPoint?
Okay. And what is your name, please?
Oh, I'm Thomas Anderson with Michigan Department of Transportation.
Okay, just for the record. Thank you. Excuse me.
Just wait. Okay, so as I said, I'm Thomas Anderson with Michigan Department of Transportation. I'm the project manager for a project we're doing on I-94BL in the city of Port Huron. If you want to go to the next slide. So the project location is on I-94BL from the Black River to Glenwood Avenue. Here it's called Huron Avenue, and so this is the downtown from the lift bridge over the Black River to Glenwood Avenue, where it splits, where 94 splits off onto Pine Grove. You go to the next slide. So the project scope is removing and replacing the pavement, curb and gutter, all the traffic signals, redoing the storm sewer. We're also upgrading the sidewalks at the intersections to be ADA compliant and traffic signals. We're repairing the bridge over the Black River. And along with the project, the city is going to be replacing their water main and sanitary sewer. Our schedule is we're doing the survey right now. After that, we're going to start doing the engineering drawings and the plans. Plan completion is in the winter of 2024, and the contractor bids will be in fall 2025. And in summer 2026, we will do the construction. Go to the next slide. The current scope of the project does not include anything behind the curb. So the sidewalk, replacing the sidewalk from the building face to the building face, redoing the landscaping, redoing the planter boxes, redoing the street lighting, that's currently not included in the scope. We are going to apply for a TAP grant, which is a Transportation Alternatives Program, to pay for all of that and get that all done and just do everything from face of building to face of building. And it would also allow us to, there's currently a streetscape runs from the Black River Bridge to McMorran. That's the decorative lighting poles, the planter boxes, everything. That would also allow us to continue that streetscape all the way through the entire project area. As part of that, we needed an ordinance from the city. We've already drafted one, talked it over with Brent and Eric and the engineering. And we also need public involvement and comment, and part of that is me coming to this meeting. And then we're also going to the DDA meeting in August 12th. And that is all I have. If you want to go to the next slide. Is there any questions?
Does anyone on council have any questions?
If it's all right with you, since just because I know they got a long presentation, I'll just reserve the right.
Well, I think these questions are just relative to this project.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So you do have an extension continuing the streetscape that we already have.
That would be,
Going through there?
we'll apply for that with the TAP grant.
Oh, okay. And then the TAP grant, I know those just came available to
Yeah,
everybody
we're applying for the one in October.
in October. Oh, okay. And so you sure you're gonna get that? Okay.
I hope so.
Okay, so you got a plan B if you don't?
Well, the plan B is not do anything behind the curtain.
Right.
I mean, that's what it's scoped at right now.
But it looks good.
We'll do what we can, but mostly it'll just be leaving the planter boxes and the irrigation and the lighting as it is right now.
Okay. And then I see you did have a project that is going to be doing 2023, but then you answered my question because you said construction won't start until after that.
Yes, 2026 is when we're going to do it, the summer of
What
2026.
you had up here, I was talking about the projects, when you list them, it was 2023.
Oh, that was just our schedule. We're starting to,
Scheduling?
yeah, that's just our schedule. We just did the survey. We're starting to do the engineering and stuff right now. And all the plans and everything, we'll have contractors bid that in 25, and then construction is summer of 26.
Okay, so it looks like you're on track then.
Yeah, we're just starting it now, so we only got 3 years.
Oh,
Gotta get
okay.
moving.
All right. Good
Madam Mayor.
luck.
Yes, go right ahead, Conrad.
You said, I know we got a little time, so it's summer 2026, but it said summer. I mean, is this it's just projection. Is this a 60-day project, et cetera? And would that ideally maybe be in the front half of the summer, i.e. as we have a busy week in the city for July? You're talking about that area. I'm just wondering how long it would be, and could you do it earlier than the year instead of in the dead of summer?
So it's probably going to be it's not going to be a 60-day project. It's probably longer. It's a big project. There's a lot to do. Our goal is not to affect, but we can not be working during July. I know it's a big deal for you guys, and we don't want to do anything that would impact that. So either we'll start it early, like February or March, and get it done before it, or start it day after you're done.
Thank you.
And go.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for welcoming me back. I was last here in November. Gave kind of an overview of our plaza expansion project. And we've done a lot between November and now. We've been very busy. Go ahead, Dave. So tonight I just want to give you a brief update on a reminder of the purpose and need, why we're doing this project, an overview, and the promised update has everything to do with the National Environmental Policy Act. So we'll talk about that, and holy cow, go back. Not that quick. So purpose of the project, safe, efficient, secure movement of people and goods for both economic and security purposes. Okay, go ahead, Dave. So these red bullet points are the things that are directly impacting the city, which is to say the traffic efficiencies that we're gaining as a result of the reconfigurations that we're making. And I will provide this for you to review a little bit more quick, or in a little bit more detail if you have, if you'd like me to do that. Go ahead. So this again is the overview of the project. The existing plaza is pretty much where it says CBP main building. We're expanding both to the north and the south, starting at the south. Relocating duty free, relocating our tolling operation, and then moving to the north later. Go ahead. So the National Environmental Policy Act drives everything we do on projects. It's very important to make sure that we do this correctly. This project, that process was completed in 2009 with an environmental impact statement and record of decision. Those are those acronyms you see in the first paragraph. Reevaluation is to determine if the work that we did in 2009 is still valid. Go ahead. So what we're looking at right here, the yellow is where we're currently proposing to do work. The purple is what was proposed previously. So our footprint is about 75%. And for that, along with other reasons, it was agreed that the federal action was appropriate to have a reevaluation as opposed to a larger environmental. Go ahead. So the first thing we did in January, and I think most of you attended, thank you for taking the time to do that, is we had some public involvement, and it was unprecedentedly well attended. We knew that we needed to reach out to as many people people as possible. So we did mailings, we did door hangers, press releases, social media, every way we could think of to let people know that we had something going on. Go ahead. So over 300 people, and I cannot tell you in my career how many of these meetings I've been to where it's been me, the consultant, getting fat on the cookies. So we were pretty overwhelmed by the 300 plus attendees, 70 comments, lots of opportunities to rebuild the much needed rebuilding of trust. And I also have been having a constant stream of contact from stakeholders since then and having them come to my office and talk about the project. So it's been great. Go ahead. This is just a little overview of some of the comments we received. Lots of very favorable comments, much better than the 2009 version. Looks like you've done everything you can. So that was really great to get some reinforcement that the things that we perceived as issues that needed to be resolved, the community as a whole agreed with. So very, very good process. Go ahead. So when it comes to traffic, the most important thing with this is that we wanted some maximum separation between tolls and the newly required outbound inspection for Customs and Border Protection. So that's what we accomplished. You can see that the left, our toll booths are moving way downstream. Right now, they're about there. In the future, they'll be here. And that's our control point. So if we get traffic backups, we will control it here, and the traffic will back up from here as opposed to currently where it backs up from here. Go ahead. And Dave, let's go to the last simulation. So these are some traffic simulations that we did. The last one is the slowed down version. So this shows how we expect. Okay, this is the one. This is a little bit quicker. So this shows how we expect, and this is peak hour in 2045. So this is with a very modest increase in traffic, which is what SEMCOG model led us to believe. And if you can push that play button, that's what there it goes. So we expect, unless there's a really unprecedented set of circumstances, that traffic will move rather than be backed up, because we're adding somewhere in the neighborhood of 1/4 of a mile to the availability of space for the traffic to operate. Additionally, we've upgraded and are continuing to upgrade our tolling software in order to make that process occur more quickly than it has in the past. So I will get to this with the simulations as well. It appears to not be working well for us tonight. So go ahead, Dave. Oh, go ahead and go to the next one. Oh, these guys are moving. I don't know why this isn't working the way I wanted it to, but in a nutshell, oh, there it goes. You can see that as people come from the freeway, they come down around the loop, they have the decision point at duty free, and then they come up. In outbound inspection, Customs has told us that on a normal day-to-day basis, they don't necessarily expect to be having all 4 lanes stopping. But this is, again, peak PM, so the highest traffic possible, and we're seeing traffic move as opposed to linger. And that is what our expectation is. Oh, you can go ahead, Dave. So this is the meat of the reevaluation for the environmental. The first thing we looked at is noise. We put receptors in all of the places where infrastructure is moving closer, and we studied that, and we found that, and I'm sorry that this is a little bit difficult to see, but along the south side by Scott Street, and then along the west side here, along the existing connection to the freeways, it is getting noisier to the point where noise barriers are indicated. So we have included those in the project, and we will be conducting a process later on in the year where the affected residents are allowed to come and vote, and they'll have an opportunity to say whether or not they want these barriers. Now, I don't want to mislead anyone. Even if they vote no, there's going to be some sort of aesthetic wall, because it's either that or barbed wire and chain link for Customs security purposes. It's just the noise walls would be larger in scale and designed a little bit differently if their intent is to also block noise. So that will do the same kind of outreach as we did before, get to as many people as need to be notified and have them come and have an opportunity to have their voice heard later this year. Okay, go ahead. Next thing was air quality. There's a very specific process for air quality, and you can read about what the EPA classifies St. Clair County, but the important thing to know is that there's this Michigan Transportation Conformity Interagency Work Group, easy for me to say, and this is part of SEMCOG. SEMCOG is responsible for the process, and we gathered all those people and showed them our data, and that group concluded that our project is not a project of air quality concern. Now, we have met separately with Mr. Freed in City Engineering, and his question to us, not to upstage you, James, was, what if it doesn't turn out that way? What if traffic doesn't move the way you think it's going to be? What if you're idling next to the neighborhoods? Will you go back and do something? The answer is absolutely yes. So, go ahead. So, this is more information about the TIP, which is the Transportation Improvement Plan. So, another part of the process is to go through that and also verify that the associated emissions will not have the adverse effect and that we meet the conformity for the 1990 Clean Air Act amendments. So we're all set there. Go ahead, Dave. Of course, during construction, it's at times not pleasant. We will be requiring the contractor to minimize noise, mufflers, compressors. We're going to shield, we're going to build the walls as soon as possible so that that provides its own barrier from the activities. We've also met with one local stakeholder in particular who's a dentist who is right in the project area, oral surgeon who is concerned about being able to hear his patients breathing while he has them under anesthesia. So we're going to work with him and see how we can help mitigate his concerns by perhaps, he said maybe if we identify when we're going to be constructing in his area, he'll just shut down the office for the week, something like that. So we'll work with him and make sure that he is well taken care of, and we're also going to make sure that we have a method for community complaints if they arise so that we can be aware of them and resolve them immediately. Okay, go ahead. Right-of-way impacts, it was much reduced. We still yet have to acquire the Comfort Inn, the Port Huron Lanes, and the Duty Free Americas store. The first two will be deferred. Those are for a later stage of the project. As of yet, we have not completed our agreements with Customs and Border Protection. We're building this first south side of the project with independent utility, meaning it can stand alone indefinitely if it must. We hope that soon Customs and Border Protection will be able to make the commitment they need to make to allow us to move forward confidently with the north side. As far as historic properties, the only one was the E.C. Williams house that's no longer impacted. And we did a double check to make sure that nothing had been listed since the study began in 2002. There was nothing new, so we're clear on historic properties. Go ahead. Contaminated sites, we've identified 27 that we need further investigation, so we're going to do the preliminary site investigation and make sure we're aware of what we're dealing with so we can mitigate it properly during construction. And really, if there's contaminated areas, when we excavate it, we have to dispose of it in a different way. That's pretty much what that amounts to. We could also potentially adjust the plans and pave over rather than excavate areas if they're of great significant concern. So this is the final conclusion, and I just received the signed document from the Federal Highway Administration last week. We concluded at MDOT that the record of decision is still valid, and no additional NEPA documentation outside of the reevaluation is necessary. FHWA has concurred. So that website at the bottom will be updated this week with the updated documents for anyone to look at, and there'll be a mass mailing that will include all of you as well as everyone else who are on our mailing list. If you're interested in being on the mailing list and you aren't already, I hate to say this, but my phone number is on that website. So speak up. Lots of other people do. Go ahead. And just a little update, because this is an area of real concern to the community. This is south of Scott, or north of Scott Avenue, rather. And we have about a 50 to 100 foot greenbelt area, multi-use path, nice landscaping. Originally, to the right in that green area, we had proposed an open drainage detention or retention basin. We have since decided to use underground storage there and leave that open to a green area as well. So there'll be a pretty significant buffer and some nice amenities between that neighborhood and the proposed noise wall or aesthetic wall, whatever it ends up being. Okay, go ahead. And then you've seen this before. This is what we expect Scott Street will look like, or Scott Avenue. Go ahead, Dave. And this is on the other side to the west by 15th and Elmwood. Same basic idea, but along the side of the loop there. Go ahead. And here's what I'm up to. Component 1 is the early works. It is a design bid build project for about $40 million. It's currently in design. We will be having a plan review, which is about 60% plans. Week from tomorrow with the city, August 7th with the MDOT QA/QC staff, so we're well on our way. We expect to advertise it for a letting in March of next year and begin construction in April or May, probably closer to May. Next one, component 2, is the rest of the south side, design build. While we're building the $40 million next summer in 2024, we will be actively procuring for this design build with the expectation of awarding it in late 2024 and seeing construction in early 2025. And that will be everything south of the existing plaza. It will also be the reconfiguration of, component 1 is the reconfiguration of Pine Grove and 10th, which is obviously of big interest to the city. And all the new buildings, all of the perimeter walls, so that's about a $160 million project. Components 3 and 4 are subject to continuing to work forward to our agreements with Customs and Border Protection. Next. This is a visual representation of the construction phases. Blue, next summer. Green is 2 years of construction in 25 and 26. Pink and yellow are the ones that we're holding to see what happens with customs. And again, each phase, based on our agreement with the Federal Highway Administration, must be built with independent utility, which is to say, if for some reason we cannot proceed forward, things will operate properly indefinitely if they must. Go ahead. And now it's time for questions. I don't know how I did, James. I wasn't watching the clock. That was quick.
There you go.
As quick as I could.
I'll open it up to start down here. Does anybody have any questions on this end? Anybody down here have any questions?
Well, first I got a question. First I want to congratulate you on the FHWA, you know.
Thank you.
It's confirmation, move full speed ahead. So much of what you're doing, the work that is coming, how much would it affect us? I mean, the traffic or anything here within the city proper?
There will be a period of time where traffic is impacted in the Pine Grove and 10th area. We will certainly be sitting down with Brent and Eric and Mr. Freed and anyone else who is interested to make sure we tailor that in a manner that is the least impactful as possible. We don't intend to detour traffic, we intend to maintain traffic.
Oh, okay.
We realize in that area of town we can't just send people somewhere else. So there will be several weeks, let's say, where we demo and construct, but the traffic, the international traffic probably won't hurt too badly.
Oh, okay.
Because they'll have the old ramp to use while we're building the new ramp, and then we'll just switch them over when we're finished with all the reconfiguring at Pine Grove and 10th.
Okay.
So we will be working very hard on that in the coming months, and we'll have probably in October a pretty solid plan, having spent a lot of time with the stakeholders between now and then to ascertain what that plan is going to be.
And Carrie, also, just to know, I just like your spirit, how you're responding to, the residents there. I heard some of that when I was there, some of that positivity. And I also heard that their number one things was that noise, from the traffic and stuff like that. So hopefully you could come to some kind of, resolution there with them.
Yeah, we are doing our absolute best. I mean, we don't have this job to change the world for the worse. We have it to change the world for the better.
Yeah.
So we are absolutely, I mean, there was going to be infrastructure there. The previous plan was not behind a wall. it was not limited access right away. So we know there's a lot of apprehension. I encourage people to come see me, and we can talk through it. And I know I'm not going to reassure everyone, but if they're going to be angry, I'd like them to be angry for the right reasons. I want them to walk away understanding.
Yeah, and
That's always my goal.
And that's the key, the understanding part. And plus, you just have that kind of way about you, that open door. And
The door is most certainly open, and a lot of people have walked through it, and I'm very grateful for that.
And I just a notation here, I attended a global summit last week in the city of Detroit, where they were trying to talk among the local officials about being competitive on a global basis and stuff like that. And they were bragging on the bridge at our other end here going, and then they did say something. I thought, wait a minute, now we got the Blue Water Bridge.
Second largest
It's the
commercial
second
drive.
largest crossing, and I mean, and I piped up, I said, yeah, that's where we are,
Yeah,
So,
well, when Ambassador and Gordy have to split, we may become number one.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we'll see how that all goes over the course of the next couple of years. So
Yep.
thank you for advocating for us.
yeah, so I want you to know you are on the radar. We are on the radar.
Yeah, well, that's what we're hearing from DC as well.
Yeah.
Our project is kind of the talk of the town, and we're very optimistic that things will start the conversations will continue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thank you.
anyone else?
Yes, me.
Okay.
I always wait till the last, so everybody else has a chance. The duty-free store, you mentioned that nothing had been negotiated on that yet. Did I
No, we're good
understand
with
you?
duty free.
The one that's existing right now
Yeah.
is,
It's moving. Dave,
It's the
why
same.
don't you see if you can find a view of the center of the plaza? It's moving to the interior of the plaza, so you will encounter it after tolls.
but the
So you
same
won't have-
person has the duty-free store.
Yeah,
Isn't that
same-
it's run independently from the...
Yep,
Yeah.
Duty Free Americas.
Yeah.
We will own the building. We're going to be their landlord.
Okay, so that's a little
which-
different, yeah.
Yeah, but we will demolish that, and actually what we expect to see there for the interim is non-intrusive inspection for customs,
Where they're existing right now.
where they're existing right now. And then here we go, we'll bring them in here. So now you have to exit the freeway, turn onto Pine Grove, go to duty free. In the future, you stay on the freeway, pay your tolls, come through here, make your decision if you want to go to duty free. You don't have to exit the freeway. So we expect to see most, if not all, of the trucks disappear from Pine Grove.
That would be nice.
A lot of them are using that little area as a shortcut. If traffic's backed up here in the imaginary freeway, then they come, exit, and then take advantage of this ramp to come back up. They cut the line.
Yes, it is
A
a bit
roof,
of a problem. And the wall, that's, you said it may or may not be a noise barrier.
I would be
so-
shocked if the neighbors don't vote in favor of it, but it's their privilege to say what they want. And we'll tell them this, I don't want anyone to be misled. If they vote no, they will still see something. It just won't be of the scope and scale of what we see in these pictures.
So it wouldn't be as high, is that
It wouldn't be as tall.
Okay.
That's exactly right. It would still be aesthetically pleasing. It would still be around the perimeter of the plaza. It would just be basically designed under different principles.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Anyone
Anyone
else?
else?
Nothing? Thank you for your presentation, very good.
Thank you very much for welcoming us back. We appreciate it. And if any questions come up, you know where to find me. Thank you.
We do. Thank you, Carrie. We'll move on to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council, please come forward, give us your name, where you live, and you have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Ken Harris, 1521 Wells Street, Port Huron. Just before these gentlemen and ladies leave here from the Michigan Department of Transportation, I think one thing you got to look for right now, and I think the citizens of Port Huron should appreciate it. We got to slow the traffic down coming into Port Huron. When I get on the expressway to go to the north end or take a shortcut over to Edition Shores or something like that, I got to navigate traffic that's moving 80 miles an hour. I have seen nothing done with it. The other thing that complicates me is the fact that the bypass from Pine Grove Avenue to where it joins I-69 is not kept up. If you can't keep up, I don't know how you're going to do a new project. But with that, good luck. And, it goes back a long time. Let's see, it's be about 60 years ago, a young 20-year-old guy worked at the bypass to start construction something. So I had a foot in cement back then, and I'm totally interested still today. Another thing I'd want to bring up is about the council here tonight. I did some research. I got the document here from 2018 on the refuse collection for the city of Port Huron. And as it is now and as it was then, it was an issue, but we weathered that issue. But I guess the one thing that stands out in front of me is that in 2018, we basically said that these were the people that were going to pay for refuse collection. 10,372 residentials and 900 commercial structures. Now we're going to build on a more expensive refuse collection with 9,900 residents. I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't even have a suggestion. But when you look at the complex and the amount of what we're trying to do more with less, and normally it don't add up. And one of the things I wanted to compliment you on tonight is a compliment and a critique is when you get to payments. Five companies ran over their budget by $206,090. But I have to go give a pat on the back to Raymond Excavating. Raymond Excavating saved us $141,683. And I guess last but not least, before I leave it tonight, I got to go home and cut grass. But the one thing that I think will impress you, and it keeps showing up on the expense accounts for the fire department. We keep paying some guy named Brill mileage, and I just don't understand why we're paying him mileage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julian Ruck, 1423 Lapeer Avenue, Polly's Place. By the numbers, if you were to take a dart and throw it at a map of the U.S., any resident in Port Huron, and just move there instead, by the numbers, there's a high likelihood that person's quality of life would increase. Port Huron is, by the numbers, one of the worst cities in the country to live in. That's a fact. That's not Julian being a big meanie face. That's not an exaggeration. That is a clear fact, proven by 60 years of the population decreasing. Now, I grew up very poor in this community, as poor as you can get. And when I came back after 20 years away, I observed that the poverty that I grew up with, which was rare then, is now commonplace here. And when COVID hit, all the cracks in our local system became very apparent, particularly to somebody like me, who's been a community organizer for about 15 years. So, because of that, recognizing all of those things, in May of 2020, I set out to end hunger permanently in Port Huron as soon as possible, because I recognized the crisis state that the city was in. Those are three distinct tiers of thought. Ending hunger is kind of where everybody's floating about right now in Port Huron. You have your nonprofits, your food drives, your little efforts here and there, your churches. You're trying to end hunger. But who's trying to end hunger permanently? That includes cherry trees up and down the street and in the park. That includes perennial food forest gardens, like ours that has asparagus now, which will grow for the next 40 years on town. That includes bringing permaculture into this community. Polly's Place is the only place in town doing that. And we're growing and giving away more food than anyone else in town. What that means is we're the best at it. What that means is nobody can tell us we're doing it wrong. We're doing it better than anyone else. Furthermore, the as soon as possible means adopting urban ag zoning, not saying we're not big enough for it, it's no big deal. We'll just let the neighborhoods figure it out, neighbor to neighbor. As soon as possible means an open conversation, which you have never offered me here. I've always had to talk with 4 minutes or less. As soon as possible is all of you for a moment thinking, maybe we should ask him how he does it. Do you want to end hunger permanently as soon as possible? It doesn't look like it. I look forward to being invited to speak at length with images that I can show you how we're doing what we're doing.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the city council this evening?
Good evening. My name is Danielle Leffler. I live at 598 Lakeside Park, which is just off of Armour, which is parallel to Gratiot. Gratiot is currently closed. There are numerous signs. Actually, I counted one day from Pine Grove to Gratiot. I think there's about 17 signs, but a lot of locals know that Armour is a good alternative. There are no sidewalks on Armour, and I don't know if there is a posted speed limit sign. People don't pay attention to it. I have stood by, because I walk that way. I live, like I said, there. My friends live right on Armour and LaSalle. So it's very easy for me to walk Armour, but there's not a sidewalk. I'm walking to get to the stop sign, seeing cars. I've seen school buses go through and don't even touch their brakes at those stop signs. When it's busy, on the busy weekends, that's a spot where people park for overflow from Lakeside Park, making it, in all practical purposes, a one-way road. I happened to be going through that on 4th of July, and cars, once you get an outing where you can go, they speed up as fast as they can to hurry up and get before another car comes. Not even paying attention that there's, people walking to the park and that type of thing. And when it first happened, I know I complained, I know other people did. We did see a police presence. There was one of the electronic speed signs that's been taken away. I have not seen the police. And I've always wondered, this is even before that, of when it is busy on any weekend, if emergency vehicles can get through on that Armour there. I just worry about the safety of myself and other residents. Check out my points. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Holden Goth here, 11th Avenue. So, I'm no professional at this kind of stuff, but I was kind of just taking a look at our millage rates in comparison to some of the other cities in our county and in Michigan. So, according to Michigan.gov, we're only behind 4 cities for millage rates in our county. Marysville is a 44.7, Memphis is a 44.5, Richmond is lower than us, Yale is about 47, and we're at 44. So when you look at the U.S. Census report of the median household income here in Port Huron of $41,000, which is painfully low, with a 1% tax rate here, they're taking a cut of $410. Not so bad, but so for some more statistics here, the home I reside in now, it used to be owned by an individual for 18 years, and his total property taxes were $1,600 at the time of the sale. Within 1 year of purchase, my assessed value raised by about 60% to make my tax due to be about $2,637. I mean, that's fair. I get it. Prices went up. But I say this all to give perspective to everyone here, a high and low metric of what a median value home in Port Huron can be assessed at to be able to explain how this affects your effective tax rate paid in comparison to other cities in our county. Should you have resided in the same house for 18 years and have a low assessment, making the median household income in your city, your effective taxes are now increased by about 25%. because if it was a $1,600 tax assessment, you're paying out $1,600 in property taxes, you had $1,400, or $400, excuse me, $400 over $1,600. That's an extra 25% taxes. In more simple terms, that's what that is. When you factor in the millage of 44.18 and you increase it by 25%, you could think of it as a rate of about 55, which now makes us the highest in the county. In my personal case, I'm a little bit higher than that 25% mark, and some people who have low earnings but a high assessment might be closer to 8%. So this math, it's important to note, that doesn't quite take into account consideration of some additional fees that I might not be aware about. For instance, the flat rate refuse fee that our council has decided to impose on us. I say this as a disclaimer that these calculations aren't a perfect science, and I would need to look more thoroughly into how some other cities in our county might be hiding certain revenues beyond just property tax or income tax. But I couldn't think of any at the time of me researching this. It's all variable on your income, and we are one of 14 or 20 cities. 8% of the cities in Michigan impose an income tax, and that income tax is pushing us to the highest tax rate in this county, effectively.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Kevin Linke, Mom's Basement. Got a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. Number one is Casanova here. I received a lot of messages over the last 3 years about him being in the bars drinking during working hours, especially Casey's. And this is confirmed by numerous residents. You know, I get a lot of attention in this city and in this county, so does Casanova. People know your faces, and they really know his. Most recently, last week at 3:30 in the afternoon, I received a text message that James was in Casey's, bellied up to the bar, and he was about 4 or 5 drinks into his time there. He had his work badge on. I have pictures of this. After I made a post about this, another city resident said that I'm speculating on what he was doing in the bar. Basically, I was lying. And in response to that, other residents that were in the bar at the same time reached out to me and told me they saw James in the bar drinking during working hours. He was also joined by our good buddy Jeff Bohm, who you all know is the head of our county commission. So, you know, I think the council needs to address this. You can't do nothing about Jeff, but you can do something about him. You're paying him almost $200,000 a year. I don't know anybody making $200,000 a year that is allowed to just drink in the middle of the workday. And I'd really like to know how he gets home, because here's the issue. If he drives home drunk and he hits somebody during the workday and he's on the clock, we're all responsible for that. We're already paying for, you know, the SCOTUS case. We're going to be paying because those two cowards up there won't fire Tristan Schaude. You know, it's time for the council to, you have to get your house in order. You have to get the city in order. You have to start holding people accountable, because by not doing it, they just keep engaging in bad behavior. This dude's a joke. He really is. And it's time for him to go. His behavior is atrocious, and it's just an embarrassment to the city. You know, we don't hear things about all of you. I mean, I hear some things, but I don't hear you guys all sitting in the bars in the middle of the day getting drunk. But James here does it all the time. And you can call me a liar, James, but I bet if we pull the receipts and pull your credit card receipts and stuff of that nature, I bet we can prove pretty easily that this is factual. And these residents that are telling me this, they're not lying. There's too many of them. They don't know each other. You know, it's happening. The second thing I'd like to address is the fact that I now work for BlueWaterHealthyLiving.com, you know, and GBS Media, and we're doing a lot of stuff in the city. We want to continue to highlight the city in a positive manner by doing videos and different things and interviews. But again, Casanova here has told city employees and department heads that they can't talk to us because he didn't like the fact that an article was written about his atrocious behavior involving another officer from PHPD that was engaged in very bad behavior. So I know you guys don't respond like this, but I would ask that the city council publicly issue a statement or something saying that your department heads and other city employees are permitted to talk to local media companies that are trying to positively highlight the city, because that's what's going on. You know, GBS Media has spent a lot of money over the years highlighting the city and doing stories, and they've asked for nothing in return. It's because the owner of that company loves this city and wants to show off this city to everybody. And now because he got his fragile ego dinged and his feelings are hurt, we can't do that now. And I think that's bullshit. And I really wish that, you know, my hope is that you guys will address this and we can do something. Because I read the policy, or I read the city charter. The city council drives policy, not the city manager. So it would be a policy that city employees can't talk to media companies. That's not his call to make, just like it wasn't his call when we didn't put up the video when I was removed by Assistant Chief Kerrigan up there. You know, James is making decisions that aren't his to make, you know, and we need all of you to start stepping in here and doing something. The other thing I'd like to talk about is we did a town hall meeting here last week. We're going to be sending it to everybody. As we move forward, we would love for maybe some of you to come be a part of that with city residents. I think would be a neat thing to do for the council, for the city. So just something to think about. We'll let you all know the next time that comes. But yeah, in closing, reel them in. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience?
Yes, my name's Michael Ryan Kirchner. I don't have a good address to provide you with at this time. I'm not even sure if this is the right place to present this question. I've had my vehicle broken into multiple times now by police officers. The establishments I was parked outside at the time told me that the cameras outside were our city cameras. I'd actually even called 911 at one time and said, hey, my car was just broken into by police, and I was quickly told I can't prove it, and they hung up on me. I was kind of curious as to if who could I talk to if I could provide a date, a time, and a place if I were interested in trying to acquire camera footage from these city-owned cameras where such crimes are occurring.
You would have to file a FOIA request, Freedom of Information request to the police department.
To the police department?
Correct.
That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? Seeing no one, declare public comment closed, and we will move on with the agenda to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Lamb. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Items on the consent agenda: approve the 2023 request for local millage distribution from the St. Clair County Parks and Recreation Commission. Rescinded the single lot assessment amount for a previously declared single lot assessment for exterior structure missing soffit and fascia and a front missing porch window for 1127 Minnie Street. Approved the scheduling of a public hearing for August 14th to hear comments on the CAPER for program year 2022. Certifying the delegates to serve at the 2023 Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan annual meeting in accordance with the Municipal Employees Retirement Act of 1984 as amended. Then we go back to from the city manager, number 1.
Accepting the single source quote for Motorola Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $197,786.88 for the purchase of 32 portable radios and accessories for use by the police department.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Support.
Councilmember Mosherak, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Is there any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
Yeah, what were the significance in referencing the single source?
Yep. Madam Mayor and Council, in contrary to those who can't read a city budget, I do not make close to $200,000 a year. But if I was a salesman for Motorola, I think I would, actually. These guys are just unbelievable. The problem with the single source is really Motorola is the only game in town. It interfaces with central dispatch, with all of our multi-agency and jurisdictions. It also allows, and the reason for this moving is our radios are getting old enough where they're no longer going to service them. But also, we're going to need to begin encrypting. And so encryption is not required now, but it will be in a few short years. And so we have to have encryption capabilities. The reason why we want to use Motorola is because it interfaces and plays well with other agencies. As you know, we have joint task forces, we have multi-jurisdictional response teams, whether it's a tunnel derailment, whether it's an international security issue at the border. We want to be able to interface with all those different agencies and the proper equipment. It is a large nut here to have to crack, but It will be paid for the land purchase fund. It should set us up for the next decade.
Oh, okay.
This dovetails into the previous request from your last meeting for the fire department, I believe at $140-some thousand.
Right. So we're just setting ourselves up for the future and also getting quality
Correct.
tech-wise to be,
Correct, and
Yeah.
I don't know if this will come this year. The lead time is really that significant. It's 9 to 12 months, so we may end up having to roll this over to next year's budget and amend that budget because we just don't know when they're going to come.
okay, and in the meantime, what are we doing with our old radios?
Right now, they're working. Some are working fine. We're cobbling together the ones that we have, and we want to do. We're being proactive. We're not waiting until they're all falling apart. So we're in good shape right now. By the time these come, the maintenance costs will rise enough. We'll have to sell them off to somebody.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Any other questions from anyone else? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Huron,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolution number 1.
Authorizing 24 payments.
So move.
Support.
Gee, I didn't have to say anything.
I was waiting.
I was going to say, I didn't get a chance to say anything. Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Is there any questions on any of the payments?
Just Madam Mayor and Council, I appreciate someone pointing out that we did have multiple change orders. Again, we base these on quantities. So when you're building a road, you don't know how much 22A you're going to need. You don't know how much sand you're going to need until you get in there. What I don't want is I don't want contractors feeling like if they have to adjust quantities, they're going to be blown up on a live television at a council meeting. The fact is the contractors open up those roads, they found subpar soil underneath, and they put in the proper amount of compaction, the proper amount of sand, so the roads don't fall apart in 10 years. You'll also see that we had one contractor who we didn't need as much soils. Throughout all of our change orders, you see some change orders, our quantities go up and quantities go down. That is to be expected, and for those contractors who had to issue change orders to balance out the quantities, I thank them for addressing it and not building a substandard road, because I think the taxpayers to have it built right the first time and not fearful of being put on blast at a council meeting.
Any questions on any of the payments?
No, I had no questions, but just piggybacking off of James' remarks and also in public hearing, those were my three. We did have 3 change orders that were before us, and I noted that, like you had mentioned, I don't want to be redundant, Raymond Excavating, that was a decrease, and it helped, and we do get that often. It's very often, more so than before, so I can appreciate that. And then also 1-15, the engineering services on our wastewater, and we get used to, we still get a lot of flack about that, how much we pay in our wastewater and all that, but you know what? I had the opportunity to attend a conference in Mississippi, and I'm thinking, my God, I'm glad we spend what we spend. I mean, it's not just Flint's water. It was across the board. I mean, the networking, and they're talking about their waters, how they neglected to take care of it. And I see, you can see when you go and see what some conditions other cities are in, and people fault us at what we do as far as being assured of how our operations are run as far as our city water, and that's paramount. And I mean, it was some sweat, at that conference when they talked about that. And Mississippi is going through some of the same things that Flint went through, and a couple other people were there. We just happened to be there, and that was top on their agenda. So I just want to say that we just need to keep doing what we're doing, and that's a priority to me as far as sitting here making sure our people have clean water to drink, and we need to, be about the business and making sure we don't wait till the last minute to do something about it. So I just want to mention that. And all the other ones, like I said, the 3 and the last one you mentioned, as far as the change order, it didn't go up that much. No. The change order, it's just like, just a tad there. So I'm all good with that. Thank you, Paul.
And anybody else? Okay, we'll take the vote on the payments.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Huron,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolution 2.
Approving the towing and related services agreement with Preferred Towing Incorporated through June 30th, 2030.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Mosher, supported by Councilmember Lamb. Do you want to speak on this?
Madam Mayor and Council, the first couple of years of my tenure here, I was constantly dealing with subpar contractors, breach of contract regarding our towing within the city. I actually terminated that contract due to breach of contract. And then we were able to do an RFP and get preferred towing to take over the towing contract. I can say, since that day, I have never had to think about towing. It has been just a seamless, wonderful relationship we have with preferred towing. They have moved a presence into the city and made significant capital investments, both in facilities and in equipment. They provide our police department with segregated storage for evidence. If a vehicle comes in, it's part of a crime scene or an accident scene, it needs to be segregated so it's not tinkered with. They've provided that facility. They've invested in their equipment. If you have to tow a fire truck, it requires a significant large equipment that most people don't have. I can't say enough things about how good it's been with preferred towing because of their just stellar performance and honesty and integrity in the way they do business. We've worked with their city attorney to extend this agreement for 7 years in the same four corners of the original agreement. One of the things I want to say as well is the reason for the 7-year term is to facilitate this contract requires continued capital investment. So if they're going to continue working for us, they're going to have to invest in that large, heavy equipment. They're going to have to maintain multiple sites for our storage. And so you can't ask people to invest that kind of capital with only a 3 to 4 year contract. They need to make sure there's some assurances that that capital will be covered by the contract. So I know we have a few representatives here tonight with them. Thank you so much for the job you have done for our city. It has been a relief, to be quite candid, to be able to have you guys come in and do such a wonderful job for us. Chief Platzer's here as well if you have any questions. He interfaces with them on a daily basis.
No, I know they do a good job. So, and we did have a problem for a while.
I also want to say, you guys keep your facilities nice. I mean, you drive by and it doesn't look like a junkyard. It's very well maintained. We do appreciate that. You do an excellent job at that.
Anybody have any comments?
I don't have any comments, but were there any changes, anything new as far as their contract, or just?
Not really, just an
cut and
extension.
paste?
Pretty much,
Okay,
yeah.
everything is the same. Okay, and then you address the delta in there. That means the gap. That 4-year gap. You just got day to day. You were ensuring that they were.
Yep.
Oh, okay. It's cool.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Mosher,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Huron,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, that concludes our regular agenda. A couple of announcements. We have a special meeting which will be held Tuesday, July 25th at 5 p.m. in the public meeting room to receive comments on the proposed ordinance to create and provide for the operation of a neighborhood improvement authority. And then our next regular city council meeting will be held on August 14th, as we only meet once in July and August. And then I guess I would just say we have the activities for Mackinac weekend coming up with the parade on Wednesday night and family night on Thursday night, boat night on Friday night, concerts on Thursday and Friday night, downtown art fair, and I get it all, and a carnival. So there's a lot going on in Port Huron, so make sure you take the moment to enjoy our community. And I think Mr. Freed would like to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say, I want to address public comment tonight. I had a meeting at 4:30 after workday with federal, state, and county officials, in which we were discussing federal funding opportunities. I laughed because I saw a local business person sitting at the bar, so I walked up, no drink in hand. And I said, "Good to see you," shook their hand. As I turned around, I watched my picture being taken. And I went back to the table of state, local, and federal officials who we were meeting with that day, and I said, I'll probably be online in the next 20 minutes. And sure enough, the lie goes out there that I'm 5 drinks in, drove home, and everyone at the table had a good laugh about it. That's not true. It's kind of silly. I signed up for this rodeo. This is what public life is like in the 21st century in 2023, and the citizens of Port Huron deserve to have a mayor, council, and city manager who stands for what's right, stands for what's truth, and continues to lead this community in the positive direction. I also say, to say that we're the worst community in the entire Midwest is kind of comical. If you look in 2014, we had record high, 50-year high unemployment. Today, we have 50-year low unemployment. We used to chase jobs, now we chase workers. Every year for the last year, consistently, the poverty rate has dropped. We've had over $500 million of investment in this community, more than 3,000 new jobs. Opportunity abounds for our residents. Port Huron is a place of prosperity. It is a place of growth. In 2015, we issued 650 building permits. Last year, we issued 1,050, a 61% increase in building permits in the community. That's a barometer of our economic strength, our economic expansion, and our economic opportunity. So it's a great place to live. That's why I live in this city with my 2 children and my wife, and we call it home and we love it. And it's just a privilege to be here tonight and an opportunity that I'll never take for granted. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And in response to that, I will also say that I know your picture went out on Facebook, and I have people call me to say it wasn't true, that they knew that you did not have 5 drinks. And so on the other side of that.
Okay.
So just to defend that. And also, there was a couple other things brought up that I guess I would like to, one when talking about the refuse collection and the basis of how many residents, and it was more residents before, but the bid was bid for the 9,900 residents.
Okay,
It was
I
not
thought
bid
so.
for the previous with businesses.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's apples to, it was the apples to apples comparison, I guess is what I would say. Also, I don't know if you want to address the fact of the traffic. I know there's nothing, we've talked about it. We have, yes?
Yeah, so I will tell you, you're one of my neighbors. Yes. I was walking down there with a 5-year-old, with my 14-month-old in my hands, no sidewalk, and it's terrifying. I have to be candid, there's only so much we can do. I've looked at doing no parking on Armour to allow for congestion. Well, the problem is, then you have a freeway, right? So it's kind of nice to have the cars. I intentionally park my car on the street to create like that pause and go around me type thing. It's terrifying. The 4th was hellacious. Last weekend wasn't so bad. We are looking at specifically on Conger and Edison area. Those streets are narrow by design, and it doesn't become a concern with EMS, right? So if you're going from wrapping around Edison, heading towards Holland, if I'm in a traverse, I can't get off the sidewalk or get off the road fast enough. Some of the residents want no parking, and I will concur with that, but they say, well, I want no parking, but I want my family and my brother to be able to park on the road. Well, we can't pick and choose who gets to park, so it's either no parking or parking in the streets. I think after this summer, those residents are willing to revisit that, to look at opportunities to specifically Conger. I think that's really Conger and Holland are where the danger zones are. So I am talking with those residents, and if they say they will concur to no parking on that street, then that's certainly something we can oblige by.
One way.
What?
I don't know. I can talk with engineering about that. I just don't know. There's traffic experts that work for us. I am not one, clearly, but I can ask them.
Speed bumps.
We can work with a whole host of issues.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has anything to bring before the council this evening? Yes.
Madam Mayor, just have a comment. For the MDOT group, just like to say, the first time you guys presented, there was a lot of questions. I think the event in January was amazing. And I know there wasn't a lot of questions tonight, but, don't take that as, I would take that as a compliment as far as your communication. And just encourage you to keep being transparent, reaching out to people, and that it's a big change either way, and the more transparency and communication. So I just wanted to, like I said, encourage to keep doing what you guys are doing on communicating.
Your town hall was fabulous. I remember driving home and you had sent door knockers like 20 blocks north, and I jokingly told my wife, I said, oh, she's going to regret this. She's going to regret this. But it was fantastic. I mean, well done.
Well, it was my teenage 1950s.
Is there anything else to come before the council?
No, at least she had to deal with traffic. I couldn't even get in my driveway. Yeah. I mean, I found myself parking over in the graveyard. I wasn't even visiting nobody. I thought, Jesus. So.
Is there anything else?
Oh.
No? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Madam Chair.